A storm is brewing in the world of hip-hop and reality TV, and this time it's personal, raw, and straight-up explosive. What began as a fiery romance between rap royalty Remy Ma and the brave, hardened Eazy, the block captain, has now devolved into a bitter war of betrayal, heartbreak, and public humiliation. Fans who once cheered for their undeniable chemistry are now reeling after shocking new revelations sent social media into a complete meltdown. Just when it seemed like Remy Ma had found a new beginning, a fresh spark after years of loyalty to Papoose, her world's king, crashing down in the most humiliating way possible. Eazy, the block captain, the very man she stood by, praised publicly, and allegedly risked everything for, has not only abandoned her, but has abandoned her as if she meant nothing. And now Remy Ma isn't holding back. In a series of emotional outbursts, cryptic posts, and a bombshell live session, Remy Ma has revealed shocking details that have left fans questioning everything they thought they knew. From shocking accusations of manipulation to claims of emotional abuse and betrayal, Remy is making it clear that Eazy didn't just dump her. He used her. If you think that's crazy, wait until you hear what she said about how long he was planning his exit. According to industry veterans, this wasn't just a breakup. It was a cold, calculated move that blindsided her and sent her into a tailspin. Grab your popcorn because this saga is just getting started. The truth is out, the wounds are open, and Remy has stopped keeping quiet. It all began with what fans once thought was the ultimate hip-hop love story. Remy Ma, the rap icon who had survived prison industry battles, family heartbreak, and betrayal before appearing to finally have her moment of peace. For years, her marriage with Papoose was hailed as a rare example of loyalty in the game. But in the background, a completely different relationship was slowly taking shape, one that would change. When Remy was spotted backstage assisting Eazy, the block captain, at a number of his events, fans initially dismissed it, saying, "She's just helping a fellow artist," but the body language and the long conversations after battles, the glances, the smirks, the subtle tension when the cameras weren't rolling, and the fact that it wasn't just professional told a different story. Remy's close friends claim that she discovered something in Eazy that had been missing for years: the excitement, the hunger, and the raw ambition. Eazy wasn't polished like Papoose. He was unpredictable and aggressive, which thrilled her. He didn't care about appearances or playing it safe. Spat. The two were seen dining alone in downtown Philadelphia. Eazy posted a blurry video on his story with a voice in the background that fans claimed was Rhee's lap. Then came the now infamous footage of them allegedly leaving a hotel together at 2:47 a.m. Venom made her feel seen by walking like he ran the game and talking to her like no one else did. For a woman like Remy Ma, who had spent so much of her career playing the protector and the fighter, being seen mattered. Fans were shocked on the internet. Was Remy cheating? Was she only helping a new artist, or was her marriage to Papoose already over? Remy remained silent and continued to move forward, but some grabbed that as guilt. Others said she didn't owe the world an explanation. But behind the silence, something was going on. Something deeper, darker, and far more destructive than anyone could have imagined, according to an anonymous friend of the couple. Remy was in love. She believed in him. She confided in him. She shared unreleased tracks with him, and she told him about her dreams. She even helped him set up meetings with major labels and put him in a position to take over battle rap with a mainstream appeal. However, she didn't realize, at least not yet, that Eazy had his own strategy. And it didn't include her for a long time. Backstage insiders reported growing tension. Eazy started showing up late to meetings that Ray set up for him. He started dropping calls, and he began avoiding questions about their situation by telling friends, "I'm just doing me." He shrugged when asked directly if he was with Remy, saying, "Man, I'm not locked down. I'm focused on this bag." However, Remy was too invested in her marriage, according to close sources. And her team was concerned because they claimed she disregarded Warning signs, flirted openly with other women, and refused to disclose their relationship to the public. Then came the heartbreak at a private dinner party in Atlanta. Remy allegedly overheard a conversation that changed everything. Unaware that she was within earshot, Eazy allegedly told a group of incoming rappers, "Remy is cool and all, but she's just a stepping stone. Watch how I move next year. I'm done with the old heads." That line broke her. Witnesses say Remy quietly excused herself, left the party early, and went silent for the next 2 days. Her closest friends say they've never seen her like this before, not even after her feud with Nicki, or when her marriage was in ruins. This was personal, and it wasn't about ego. It was about being used. Days later, the internet erupted once more, this time with a video of Eazy on Instagram Live with an unidentified woman. They were laughing and drinking champagne. He zoomed in on her thighs and nails before grinning at the camera. The last straw for Remy Ma was when she unfollowed and erased all of her previous posts that mentioned him. Then, without warning, she went live, and her words shocked the entire industry. Remy Ma, without makeup, looked directly into the camera, her voice shaking not with weakness but with rage. "I gave this man opportunities, love, and loyalty. And in return, I got disrespected, lied to, and made to look like a fool in front of the world," she continued. "I'm not some rookie in this game. I've been through worse. But what I won't tolerate is a man using my name, my resources, and my platform to turn around and act like I never mattered." Comment section went crazy saying he fooled me, but I'm not the only woman he fooled. Theories exploded instantly. He fooled me, but I'm not the only woman he fooled. Eazy ain't easy no more. This is why we never trusted him. Remy wasn't done though, so I held back out of respect and didn't want to air out anybody. But since you all think this is a game because he wants to play me like I'm just another name, I've got receipts, messages, and proof, and I'm not the only one he played. The betrayal was more than just emotional. It was scandalous. A close friend posted, "This isn't even half the story. Y'all is about to see who this man really is." The following day, Eazy posted a single tweet that read, "I believe I owe nobody nothing." No mention of Remy, no apology, just pure defiance. The fans believed that this was all a publicity stunt, and just when they thought it couldn't get any worse, an anonymous Instagram page leaked screenshots purportedly showing DMs from Eazy to other women, one of whom claimed she was pregnant. Remy Ma had been humiliated, publicly ignored, and reduced to a footnote in a relationship that had consumed her both professionally and emotionally. But now that the silence had ended, she was prepared to burn it all down. Within hours of her explosive live session, Ree's team started contacting media outlets. She wasn't doing interviews, but her team was sending a message that Remy Ma was taking control of the narrative. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was the one exposing the truth. Behind the scenes, damage control was happening like a hurricane. Ray's management started going through footage, gathering messages, screenshots, and behind-the-scenes moments from previous months. She had her own archives, her own memories, and now her own receipts. This wasn't just about telling her side of the story. It was about exposing the pattern behind Eazy, the block captain's behavior, the manipulation, the mind games, the opportunism, everything. Fan pages began sharing old footage of Remy and Eazy together. What had once appeared to be chemistry turned into a rage of deception, and people started reanalyzing his body language. The way he let her talk while remaining distant, and the way he subtly distanced himself in interviews when she wasn't present. The internet began to connect the dots after Remy went public. Hashtags like #RemySpeaks, #EasyExposed, and #used and dumped trended for days. Interviews in which he implied that OGs were clinging to relevance through him were resurfaced. People were shocked that he had the audacity to make such remarks, especially in light of all that Remy had allegedly done behind the scenes to boost his reputation. Meanwhile, Eazy remained defiant, posting cryptic captions, subtle digs, and staged photos that gave the impression that he was unconcerned. But the silence was loud. His avoidance only served to fuel the fire. Remy M wasn't sitting around doing nothing either, though she stopped participating in any more events or interviews. She started posting breadcrumbs, lyrics, photos, and captions that alluded to betrayal, pain, and retaliation. She wore a hoodie that read, "Not your stepping stone, your stepping stone." She shared an old photo of herself and Papoose without a caption, raising rumors that she was either trying to make amends or just reminding people of what true loyalty used to look like. Meanwhile, new information started to surface through Anonymous insiders, and one woman who claimed to have known both Remy and Eazy personally said that this was never a secret. She said that Eazy had been boasting for months that he was only rocking with Remy to advance in his career and that he was planning several projects behind her back. She also claimed that he had signed a new management deal without telling Remy, despite the fact that she had helped him establish the foundation of his career. This revelation confirmed what many had feared. Remy wasn't just emotionally betrayed. She had been professionally undermined, replaced by others he considered more. Strategic industry insiders confirmed that Eazy attended meetings Remy had arranged with labels without her. Comments such as "You did, Remy dirty, clout chaser," and "She made you" flooded his pages, and his engagement started to deteriorate. Brand offers started to withdraw, and some platforms even put off projects he was involved in. However, even more shockwaves came when leaked legal documents revealed that Remy had invested a substantial sum of money into one of Eazy's small business ventures. It's an urban fashion label that never really launched. Relying on trust, the paperwork was shaky. And now that the fallout made it seem like the money was gone forever, the internet erupted once more. This time, it wasn't just emotional or personal, it was financial. It was betrayal at every level. It was heart, loyalty, and money. Fans weren't just angry, they were furious. Remy Ma, the woman who had survived the music industry, the streets, and the system, had been played in a way that no one had anticipated. And her silence began to feel heavier and more purposeful as she plotted. Meanwhile, Eazy, the block captain's camp, finally made a clumsy move when a close associate released a vague statement claiming that the two were never officially together, and that people made up stories to win sympathy. Fans deemed the statement to be tone-deaf, dismissive, and gaslighting. Even those who had previously backed Eazy started to distance themselves. The hip-hop community was now split. Some thought Remy had caused it by getting involved while married, while others thought she had just fallen for someone who took advantage of her weaknesses. Regardless of one's position, it was evident that Eazy's reputation had taken a serious hit during all of this. Papoosia's silence also became a major topic of conversation. He had never made any public remarks or responded to any questions, leading some to speculate that he was secretly supporting Remy behind the scenes. After the first rumors broke months ago, some thought he was finished with her. But one insider claimed that Papoose had allegedly told a close friend Remy's going through. It let her handle it her way. "I already played my part." Then came the much-anticipated revelation. A leaked email thread revealed that Eazy had tried to pitch a reality show about his life and career with Ray as a featured mentor love interest. The emails were dated prior to their alleged romantic fallout, and the producers rejected the idea, stating that it was too risky given Ray's ongoing family situation. However, it was evident that Eazy had plans to use the relationship for fame and mainstream exposure. The news went viral immediately, and YouTubers started examining every frame of old videos that featured the two. The theory that Eazy had used Ray went beyond mere conjecture and became the dominant narrative. Ray's tact turned to strategy when she shared a photo of herself in the studio with the caption, "Trust is dead, but the music's alive." The post received hundreds of thousands of likes and tens of thousands of comments, the majority of which were supportive. Fans urged her to release a diss track, while others wished for her to heal. However, in typical Remy fashion, she didn't react emotionally. Instead, she planned behind the scenes. Rumors also circulated that she was getting ready to release a song that would be the most intimate and scathing of her career. Insiders said it would be a direct response to the disrespect she experienced, and it wouldn't hold back. Meanwhile, Eazy tried to change the focus. He announced a new tour, posted videos of himself working out, even hinted at a new freestyle. But the buzz wasn't the same. Comments from his audience were now filled with Remy's name. Every attempt to change his image was overshadowed by the story that he had lied to and abandoned one of the most respected women in hip-hop. The emotional toll then started to show. Fans noticed that Remy had stopped going to industry events. Her normally bold fashion statements had been replaced by more subdued looks. And her once bright and unapologetic smile had become more subdued. In a shocking turn of events, Remy's name started trending again, not because of scandal, but because of support. Women in the industry started posting messages like "Protect Remy Ma" and "We've all trusted the wrong man." Female artists and influencers spoke out, calling her experience a reflection of how powerful women are often targeted by men who see them as a ladder to climb and then leave behind. Remy started to speak out anonymously, revealing that she was deeply hurt not only because she had believed in someone who never truly believed in her, but she blamed herself for ignoring the signs. The experience evolved from a story to a movement, a discussion about trust, emotional manipulation, and how even the strongest women can be exploited when love blinds them to warning signs. Throughout it all, Eazy stayed mostly silent, continued to perform and posted, but now with a defensive air. He knew the damage had been done. The empire he had attempted to build on someone else's foundation had started to fall apart. And Remy was no longer just watching. She was planning something bigger. As the chaos surrounding Remy Ma and Eazy the Block Captain continued to dominate headlines, a subtle yet powerful shift began to emerge. The narrative had been filled with scandal, heartbreak, and betrayal, but now the focus was starting to shift. And a lyrical force was rising from the ashes of humiliation and regaining control not with anger or sympathy, but with strategy, silence, and unquestionable strength. The energy around her started to shift, and she stopped posting cryptic captions and dropping hints. Instead, Remy went dark again, but this time it was about working. She was seen less on red carpets and more on studio boards, where she laid vocals that insiders described as venomous, surgical, and intensely personal. Word quickly spread that she wasn't just making music, she was making a statement. And production insiders started to leak information about a project called Used, the Remy mess story. It wasn't going to be a messy tell-all. It was intended to be a raw, introspective, and powerful portrayal of what it means to be a Black woman in hip-hop, navigating love, betrayal, and survival in a brutal industry. The footage included unseen behind-the-scenes clips, personal voice memos, and deeply emotional confessionals recorded during the height of the fallout with Eazy. Rhee's creative control over the documentary was absolute, and she made it clear that this wasn't just about a man. Rather, it was about a pattern of how easily strong women are reduced to storylines, headlines, or tools in someone else's game plan. She wanted to change the conversation from victimization to victory, and she was doing it on her own terms. In the background, a new kind of support started to emerge as other female artists started publicly endorsing her journey. Some who had previously remained silent on the subject started posting words of support. Female CEOs, rappers, singers, and even reality stars began to share their own stories of being used and dumped. And they credited Remy for giving them the courage to speak up. Suddenly, it was more than just a scandal. It was a movement. The documentary's teaser trailer, which was released on Friday night, garnered millions of views in a matter of hours. The minimal visual featured Remy walking alone on a bridge with her voice narrating in the background. The music was haunting, the tone unapologetically raw, and she didn't name names. But the pain in her voice told the world everything they needed to know. While Remy was rebuilding Eazy, his public image was collapsing. And industry insiders confirmed that several brand partnerships had quietly pulled out. After weeks of silence, fans were shocked when a video clip surfaced of Papoose at a private event addressing the situation for the first time. Although brief, his words carried weight. He didn't speak with anger. He didn't throw shade. Instead, he acknowledged the pain of watching someone you love go through betrayal and emphasized the importance of standing in truth, not embarrassment. He continued promoting new freestyles in an attempt to divert the public's attention from the overwhelming wave of criticism, but it wasn't working. The internet knew exactly who he was referring to. The post went viral and fans praised him for his grace. Now, everyone was wondering if he had forgiven Remy and if they were in contact again. Insiders said that even though Papoose and Remy were no longer living together, they had been in contact. And that Papoose had stated that he was willing to support Remy emotionally during her healing process. This revelation further softened the tone of the internet toward Remy. What had started as a scandalous betrayal narrative was being rewritten as a tale of redemption, pain, and resiliency. People were cheering her again, not just as an artist, but also as a woman navigating difficult emotions and difficult consequences, negotiating a deal with an all-female music label that was getting ready to start a new project that would support female MCs. In addition to mentoring the next generation, she would also have a key executive role, which was a perfect power play. Meanwhile, fans noticed that Eazy's events were no longer selling out as they once did. His crowds were getting smaller, and his freestyles were being criticized for lacking depth. Bloggers who had previously hyped him were now ignoring him. The culture had changed, and he was no longer the chosen one. Despite this, Remy wasn't gloating, though. She didn't make any more public remarks about Eazy, subtweets, or shade. It was evident that she had moved from pain to purpose because the full trailer for the documentary, which featured testimonies from some of the biggest names in the industry, revealed that Ray's story had opened a dialogue that the music industry had been avoiding for too long. The trailer ended with the words, "You can break my heart, but you won't break me." The impact was immediate. Celebrities started reposting the story. Activists weighed in, and even mainstream media picked it up. Remy M had transformed a public humiliation into a platform of empowerment, and the world was watching. A few days later, Remy revealed a surprise EP titled No More Queens for Pawns. The artwork was bold. The internet went crazy when Remy, wearing royal armor, stood over a broken chessboard. It was a metaphor, a message, and a middle finger all at once. Fans couldn't wait for the EP to drop at midnight, and within hours, it was at the top of the trending charts. Each track told the story of deception, survival, realization, and rage. It wasn't messy. It was poetic surgery, and every line went deeper than the last. Critics praised it as Rhee's most honest body of work since her early mixtape days. Lead single Blue Loops and Bruises was immediately dubbed a disanthem, but also an anthem for every woman who had been played and returned stronger. As the project gained momentum, more women in the entertainment industry started sharing their own tales of being used and dumped by managers, collaborators, and industry fans. Personal pain was now a movement that was starting to change the industry, even though Eazy kept trying to perform despite the growing tide against him. However, his appearances were awkward, his energy was defensive, and his freestyles started to include lines about being targeted and fake queens, which only made the situation worse. At one event, he reportedly left the stage early after someone threw a Remy poster on stage. In the meantime, his decline from grace was no longer a rumor. It was happening in real time. Remy was being offered interviews, appearances, and features. But she accepted very few because she didn't want to capitalize on her pain. Instead, she wanted to make sense of it. Every move she made was quiet and powerful, and by the end of the month, the Remy Ma story was released on a major streaming platform. It was raw, devastating, and beautiful. It began with a powerful narration by Remy about trust, power, and how easy it is for strong women to be used when they let their guard down. Throughout the film, Remy remained poised, honest, and vulnerable, but never weak. Fans thanked her on Twitter and shared stories of how they had been betrayed and how they found strength in her comeback. By this point, the tide had completely turned, and the block captain was no longer the face of a rising movement. Instead, he was a cautionary tale, a symbol of what happens when you use people without considering the consequences. His supporters had dried up, his opportunities were drying up, and his supporters had diminished. The name now included an asterisk, and Remy was doing well. She signed a multi-million-dollar deal with the women-led label Sheep and Curding, announced a mentorship program for young women in North Carolina, started a podcast about emotional recovery and female empowerment, and even started going to therapy in public, normalizing mental health for Black women in the industry. The betrayal, though painful, had forced her into a new era that was defined by truth, growth, and power rather than by men's relationships or image. Remy had already written the last word, and her documentary and EP had taken the entertainment industry by storm. The block captain was publicly humiliated, his image destroyed, and his fan base reduced to loyal remnants of what it once was. The buzz he once enjoyed was now overshadowed by accusations of manipulation, betrayal, and opportunism. However, Eazy wasn't ready to disappear quietly. He had been carefully calculating how to ride the media wave that Remy rode, and now that his name was elevated again, Eazy was getting ready to strike back. He began subtly posting cryptic messages on his stories. Though he didn't specifically mention Remy, the implications were obvious. His captions hinted at betrayal from both sides, suggesting that the story the public had eagerly swallowed wasn't the full truth. These posts, which were full of ambiguous accusations and ominous allusions, immediately attracted the attention of gossip blogs. He was also about to break his silence with his own truth. Shortly after, he announced a visual project of his own called The Other Side, which was advertised as a series of short video clips exploring fame, betrayal, and power from his perspective. He promised that it would be real, raw, and unapologetic. The internet immediately speculated that it was a jab at Rhee's documentary. But most of his fans applauded the move, seeing it as damage control. Too little, too late. The first video on YouTube featured dramatic images of a man alone in a dark room, narrating how he was used by someone more powerful for her own emotional void. Without ever mentioning Remy's name, the message was clear. He presented himself as a pawn in a larger scheme, implying that Remy had also profited from the relationship and had used him as her emotional escape when her marriage started to fall apart. While some people sympathized, the majority rejected it, accusing Eazy of manipulating the situation to save face. However, his content sparked discussions, particularly when a series of private photos of him and Remy from months ago surfaced. Although the images were not explicit, the intimacy in them was undeniable. The leak felt deliberate, and fans called it a desperate move. Rhee's team remained silent, but the silence would not last long. An anonymous source came forward with receipts that purportedly connected Eazy to multiple women during his time with Remy were involved with Eazy. One of these women, who wished to remain anonymous, claimed that she was involved with Eazy while he was still seeing Remy. Audio notes and hotel receipts began to surface, and the messages were full of flattery, manipulation, and plans to become famous together. What was worse was that these exchanges took place during the time that Eazy was publicly associated with Remy. This wasn't just an emotional betrayal. It was evidence of a planned double life. Remy Ma had remained silent during the post-documentary fallout, concentrating on her music and healing, but these new developments painted a larger picture of Eazy's character. The track was raw and unfiltered, and it didn't name Eazy, but she didn't need to. Her bars were razor sharp. The internet exploded in acclaim, and Eazy replied the following day with a tweet that simply stated, "Art imitates pain." Eazy was criticizing liars who used pain as a tool for compassion and transformed privacy into business. However, when the anonymous woman involved in the recent allegations chose to come forward in a live interview, things became more heated. With her voice hidden, she said that Eazy had promised her access to the industry and used Rhee's connections to give her the impression that he had power. She also claimed that once Remy revealed the truth, he completely abandoned her out of fear of more backlash. The woman even claimed that other women were afraid to speak out, while others were holding on to messages they'd received. She depicted a man who used his relationships as leverage, dumped people at will, and never took responsibility for the emotional damage he left behind. The shocking allegations made headlines right away, and for Eazy, it was the last straw. His team refuted the claims in a statement, calling the woman an opportunist. But the damage was irreparable. Promoters started removing him from lineups. Sponsorships disappeared, and his name trended for all the wrong reasons. Meanwhile, Remy was getting ready for her next phase. Her EP had already cemented her return to music. Her documentary had ignited a movement, and she was entering a new role as a mentor, executive, and creator of her own legacy beyond music. Her name, Truffler Media, was a nod to the journey she had just gone through. The mission was clear: to give women a voice before they were silenced, and to give young artists power before it was taken. Her presence alone spoke volumes at an all-women's panel for mental health and entertainment, which was her first in-person event since the scandal. The room fell silent as she spoke about the dangers of misplaced trust, the pressures of fame, and the burden of silence. She didn't mention names, she didn't speak in rage, she spoke clearly. And for many, it was a moment of healing for her and the innumerable women who watched, who had experienced the same silent suffering. Back online, fans showered her pages with praise. Some referred to her as brave. Others called her the blueprint for survival, and influencers quoted her words. As for Eazy, the story was now one of waning relevance. His attempt at retaliation had failed to redeem him. His visual series ended with little impact. His most recent performances received mixed reviews, with many fans leaving the stage or chanting Rhee's name during his sets. The fallout had permanently damaged his reputation. And even those who had once applauded his ascent now questioned the motivations behind it. Remy, however, was far from finished. She was getting ready to launch a new series of interviews with other women in the industry who had gone through similar experiences of manipulation and betrayal were made possible by the platform, which was called Survivors of Silence. Its goal was to shed light on the silent struggles that many people faced behind the scenes of fame and filtered lives. Although the wounds were still healing, Remy Ma had gained something more valuable. She had found her voice again, not as a rapper or a celebrity, but as a woman reclaiming her story on her own terms. As her media empire expanded, her music charted once more, and young artists started citing her as an influence not only for her lyrics, but also for her growth. Remy Ma was no longer the woman who was used and dumped. She was the one who rose from it. She was unbreakable, unapologetic, and unshakable. By this point, the dust had mostly settled, at least on the surface. Remy Ma had gone full circle, from betrayal to exposure, heartbreak to healing, and now power to purpose. The world had watched every step, every silence, and every powerful move she made as she turned that devastating public breakup into a global conversation. But just when everyone thought this story had reached its end, a new twist appeared that no one had anticipated. It began with a blind item posted on a well-known celebrity gossip blog. an anonymous tip that rocked the foundation of Remy's newfound peace, is under investigation for allegedly funneling money into a failed business run by her ex-lover. The internet quickly connected the dots, leading people to revisit the earlier revelations that Remy had invested a significant amount of money into Eazy's now-defunct clothing brand. The blind item claimed that a third party, possibly a silent investor, had accused her of improperly using her name to endorse a failing operation without full disclosure. Although the claims were vague, they were serious enough to raise eyebrows in industry circles and on social media, released accusing the claims of being unfounded, unverified, and obviously intended to smear a woman who has reclaimed her story with dignity and integrity. Nevertheless, the media couldn't help but pick up on the drama. Rhee's name was once again in the news, but this time it was under a different kind of scrutiny. As she worked discreetly with her legal team to resolve the matter, the atmosphere around her changed slightly. People were worried about whether Eazy's final wounds would become permanent scars that she couldn't get rid of. But rather than backing down, Renee pushed forward. She continued producing her interview series, Survivors of Silence, which is now in its second phase. More women came forward with their stories about Eazy, and similar situations throughout the Remy's lesson had been harsh. But she was determined to never fall into that trap again. In a surprise move that shocked even her fans, Remy posted an open letter on her website called Unwritten Verses. It was raw, emotional, and unfiltered, her first long-form expression since the scandal. She detailed the silent pain of being betrayed, the public pressure of being torn apart in front of millions, and the toll of rebuilding when trust had been shattered. The series started trending weekly. It was evident that the movement Remy sparked was no longer about her. It had grown far beyond her pain and become a platform for systemic change. The letter ended with a powerful message. "I'm not perfect, but I'm honest, and I will never again allow my loyalty to be a weapon used against me." Fans, fellow artists, and public figures flooded the comments, demonstrating that even though scandal was threatening to resurface, Rhee's credibility had reached a point where the public trusted her more than they feared the noise around her. Meanwhile, Eazy's world continued to shrink following the backlash from his visual project and the public interview from the anonymous woman. His reputation had hit rock bottom. Brands stopped returning calls, venues backed out of deals, and even some of his longtime collaborators started to distance themselves. He tried to rebrand again, this time by releasing new music with a redemption theme, but it didn't work. He made evasive attempts to address the controversy in his lyrics, implying that he had been dragged into war and left bleeding without a voice. But the public had moved on. The narrative had solidified, and he was losing. To make matters worse, more damaging screenshots of messages between Eazy and another up-and-coming artist who claimed he had promised her a collaboration in exchange for private favors appeared. The conversation had an awkward tone that suggested not just manipulation but coercion. Screenshots spread like wildfire, and his management team fired him within hours. Now that he was facing public shame and possible legal issues, Eazy finally stopped talking. His social media was silent, with no new music or videos, just a wall of silence that confirmed what most people already knew. Remy was no longer watching, though, because she was fully focused on the future. She signed 2 new artists to her media company, both of whom were women with strong lyricists. And she announced an all-women's cypher event where up-and-coming female rappers could show off their skills without male gatekeeping. The culture embraced her initiative wholeheartedly, and she had gone from being an icon to an architect. She also confirmed that her next full-length album was in the works, her first in more than 5 years. Fans were giddy with anticipation, and rumors circulated about possible collaborations with other powerful women in the industry. Just returning, she was building a whole new empire on her own terms. And then one last unexpected moment brought the story full circle. A handwritten letter from Papoose reached Rye's management office. There was no return address, no public statement, just a quiet note. In it, he expressed support for her continued growth, acknowledged the pain they both had endured, the silence he had maintained, and the strength she had shown through it all. He made no promises or declarations, just a simple message. You did what you had to do, and I see you now. All of you. Remy never discussed the letter publicly, but a close source confirmed its authenticity, saying it made her cry not because of lost love, but because it was the first time she had ever been seen without condemnation. Rebuilt, The Woman, The War, The Win, her second documentary came to an emotional close. It examined how she found herself again, not through a man or through retaliation, but through resilience. The last scene featured her sitting alone in a studio with headphones and a pen in hand, smiling not because everything had been resolved, but because she was finally whole. The final voiceover concluded the story as Ray had always wanted. They tried to define me by the pain they gave me, but I turned that pain into power and power into peace. I was never just someone's mistake. I was always my own miracle. The screen went black and the internet erupted in tears. Critics hailed the documentary as her most powerful work, but young women posted videos of themselves crying as they felt heard and healed by her story. Finally, as the credits rolled, a final note appeared on screen. This is not the end. This is my beginning. Remy May had survived the betrayal, the backlash, and the rumors. She had revealed the truth, lost a man, a marriage, and her peace. But this time, no one could take it away from her. What started out as a heartbreaking betrayal became one of the most powerful redemption stories in hip-hop history. Remy Ma did more than just expose Eazy, the block captain. She revealed the truth about manipulation, clout chasing, and emotional warfare in the spotlight. Her silence turned into strength, her pain became purpose, and her story became a movement. From the explosive documentary to the raw EP, from public tears to private victories, Remy demonstrated to the world what it means to rebuild on your own terms, himself from the narrative. But what do you think about Remy's overconfidence in Eazy? Plan this from the beginning, and if someone can actually recover from such a betrayal. Please share your ideas and please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you agree with Remy's rise, please remember to like this video. To ensure you never miss a moment of more stunning celebrity drama, hit the notification bell and subscribe. Love, loyalty, and falsehoods in the public eye. Thank you. Thank you.